Okay, party people in the house, you're about to witness something you've never witnessed before. Live, right now, here on YouTube, you have Auntie Miracle Baby. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. How are we doing today? I decided to come online because, last night I discussed that I was going to start my series on Jodi Arias. And so, since I am not uh, hungover or sick or anything, I said, I'll just go ahead and get started today while my hair dries because, today was wash day. Anyway, um, I want to go ahead and get started. Okay, so one thing about this is it's going to be a multi series because it is so much material out here about Jodi that I could literally be talking for nonstop a month, and it's just way too much. So we're going to start. I'm going to give you some little bit of background, and then we're going to go to um, Oh, we're going to start with a little bit of background, and then we're going to go and watch a portion of her interrogation video. The interrogation videos alone is about 7 hours. So we're going to break these up. I'm going to try to come on here at least 2 times a week. I'm going to try to in order to get the series and to have it be cohesive. So let me go ahead and get started here and give you a little bit of background on these individuals. What's my overlay? Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander. I can figure out where. Okay, here we go. On these two, this is Jodi and Travis during happy times. So brief timeline. Um, Back in 2006, Travis met Jodi at a conference in Las Vegas. Travis was 30, a motivational speaker, and he was a salesman for prepaid legal. Arias was living in Palm Desert, California. She was a serial waitress. She was not able to keep up with being doing sales. She just wasn't motivated. Um, and her thing was that she was just a server. That was her career, being a professional server. So uh, Travis was a Mormon, and when they started dating, she wanted to convert to Mormonism in order to be more compatible for Travis because you have to be with a church member. You can't be with a person that's outside of the faith. So Jodi volunteered before they even really started dating. This was back in 2006. She allowed Travis Alexander to baptize her into the Church of Mormon. So back in 2007, February, they started dating. By June, they broke up, but when they broke up, they weren't a physical, or they weren't really a couple anymore in that sense, but they had a physical sexual relationship, and it was secret sexual relationship. In December, Travis was dating other women. He told friends that Arias had a jealous streak. She slashed his tires on his vehicle twice. Um, his girlfriend at the time was receiving harassing emails from, well, they suspected it was Arias, but they weren't sure. It wasn't proven that it was her. Um, let's see here. Uh, 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 uh. And I'll skip all of that about their sexual conversations. We'll get to that shortly. So they broke up in what did I say? They broke up in June of 2007. But then in 2008, Jodi moved to Mesa, Arizona, where Travis lived. So they had broken up, but she moved to be with him. They also went and did multiple trips together. They were doing the 10,000 places to go before you die, and they were doing a whole bunch of traveling together. Um, in April of 2008, after Arias moved to California, I'm sorry, moved to Arizona from California, Travis wrote a blog entry stating, "This year will be the best year of my life. This is the year that will eclipse all others. I will earn more, learn more, travel more, serve more, love more, give more, and be more than all the other years of my life combined." On May the 10th, Jodi posted her last blog entry reading, in part, "I cannot ignore that there is an ever present yearning and desire that pulses within me. It throbs for gratification and fulfillment." Um, on that same day, Travis sent a text to Jody saying, "Why don't you have him come and fuck you in the woods? I can only imagine you are so worried about me reading. You are paranoid because you have no respect for people, privacy, and you dare insult me of all people, someone you should go through your actions you hate more than love by denying me a human right of privacy countless times. You have a lot of freaking nerve. We are all not like you in that aspect." So basically, she was mad because Travis was mad because she was going through his phone and his email. She had hacked into his email accounts and his MySpace. So, speed fast forward to June of 2008. Jody had a robbery at the house where her grandparents lived, and a gun was stolen and some money. The very next week, she went and was going on a trip to Utah because she met a new guy named Ryan Burns that was going to be her boo thing. Um, it's going to be her boo thing. So she decided that she was going to make a detour to Arizona to see Travis. So she went on June the 2nd, picked up a car from Budget Rental Car in Redding, California. On June the 4th, she went to Travis's home in Mesa. They had sex and took explicit photos of each other. And then they had Travis had a conference call. That was the last outgoing call that was made from his phone. And then he missed an important business call that evening. On June 5th, Arias went to Ryan Burns, the person in Utah, who was also a prepaid, a coworker at Prepaid Legal. So then on June the 7th, Jody, according to the police, returned the rental car to Budget uh, in Redding. On June the 9th, Alexander's friends that were concerned about his well being, they hadn't seen him, went to his house, found him dead in the shower. And immediately, all of his friends were saying, "Look at Jody. Jody did it. He has a psycho ex girlfriend. Look at Jody." So Jody on June the 13th posted a photo gallery on her MySpace, which is still up, by the way, called "In Loving Memory of Travis." On June the 17th, Jody went to the Mesa Police Headquarters, voluntarily fingerprinted herself, and gave the investigators a sample of her saliva for DNA testing. While they were waiting in the lab for those results to come back, investigators found that there were images on a camera that were once deleted, and it was thrown in the washing machine. Now, Jody's a photographer, but she did not take the memory card. She just took the whole camera, threw it in the washing machine, and thought that it was going to destroy the evidence. So the deleted pictures were those of Travis naked in the shower right before his death. So he was appearing to be posing in some of the photographs. And then there were some other pictures that were time stamped that day that was of Travis, obviously bloody, and then a foot, because this was accidentally was taken when the camera dropped. And so she was dragging his body back to the shower after she had slashed his throat, clearly. Um, when she was doing all this stuff she was doing, she left a handprint on the wall mixed with his blood and her blood and some of her hair. So Jodi then goes through the motions of pretending like she had no idea what was going on. She wasn't there. The last time she saw Travis was in April, but it was clear she was with him in June. So now we're going to get to the a portion of her first interrogation when she first got picked up in July of 2008. I think it was July the 15th in 2008. And we're going to break down some of this so we can get a good handle. Did I share my screen? Oh, I still got this overlay up here. Let me take this down. Here we go. So I'm going to break down some of the storyline and inconsistencies. And I promise I won't make it too long because it's a lot of information. All right. This is my Jodi Joe. All right. So let's get into this. And make sure y'all hit the like. So you see that she's very calm. She's much more calmer than I would be being accused of murdering someone. She's way too calm. I'd be in there freaking the hell out. Make sure that we're gonna peep the body language. We're gonna peep her story. She's definitely disassociated.
Okay, let me get those off you. Can you stand up for me? Face the other. I'm gonna get you a bottle of water.
Any chance you could get my purse?
Yeah, we'll get that.
She's concerned about her purse.
Will they bring it to me?
We'll probably be putting your property. There's water for you. Do you want one for yourself? Yeah.
Can anybody trying to eat up in here? Or like, do you have a sweater I can borrow or something? I don't have any sweaters. I'll see if I
Shit,
can.
like this is the Ritz or something.
That's fine.
Can I get a heater on?
Sure, I don't lock myself in here. So you remember me?
Of course I do.
I traveled all the way up here to come talk to you because I've been working on Travis's case ever since it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I know exactly when it happened, when he was killed. I know a lot of details, and just recently we found quite a bit of evidence, and I'll discuss that with you. The main thing that I'm looking for, though, is answers.
Now listen to this now.
Why certain things happened, why they went so far, and also to get your statements.
Okay.
A lot of details on this case that haven't been released to the public and not even to Travis's family. And those details are known only by us and the person who did it.
Okay, so the police officer just said there's a lot of details that are not known to the family or not known to the public because they do that. We all know they do that because they are trying to single out who the killer is. So it's some information that they're not going to release, but if the person who knows what happened says something, then they'll be like, "That's the bitch who did it." So he's just saying this to her now. This should have given you a clue that you are being accused, but Jodi is Jodi.
Okay? And that's one of the reasons I'm here, because I believe that you know some of these details.
So he just said, I believe that you know some of these details. Now remember, he said only the killer and the police. But I believe you know some of these details.
And I think you can help us.
I would love to help you in any way that I can.
Okay. Because we're here at the police department, the sheriff's department here in, was it Siskiyou County?
Siskiyou.
That's what it's called. Okay. And you're considered under arrest or detained. You're not free to go. And I'm a police officer. I have to read you your rights. Okay. I'm sure you've heard them on TV. I have to read them off this little card here, but they're pretty much the same. And I'll explain them to you as we go, okay?
So he's Mirandizing her right now.
This is July 15th, 2008, correct?
Yes.
Let me see what time it is here.
So if he doesn't Mirandize her,
10:01.
that can ruin the whole case.
Good morning. This is case number 2008-161-0844. Okay. You do have the right to remain silent. Okay. Anything you say may be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to the presence of an attorney to assist you prior to questioning and to be with you during questioning if you so desire. If you cannot afford an attorney, you have the right to have an attorney appointed for you prior to questioning. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
And what I'm going to do is just ask you some questions, ask you what you've been doing, certain dates and what you were up to.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were traveling on some of these dates.
I travel a lot.
I want to kind of clarify some of these things. And, if there's a question that you don't want to answer, you don't feel comfortable, you can say no, or, you can elaborate as much as you want. It's completely up to you. It's at your speed. I don't want to pressure you.
Is this recorded at all, or should we?
I don't know if there's a recording or something.
I don't know if these
So we're focused on the recorders in the room.
They have audio or batteries or what?
I don't think they're on.
They're really cool.
It's
You
okay.
still heat.
Yeah, I haven't touched those or anything, but they're not on. So what I want to do is just get to the bottom of it. Everybody wants to know, okay? And so I'm going to ask you some questions. You can voluntarily answer them if you want. Okay, is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. There was some question about you being. Well, let's start with this.
So I love the way he starts this out like it's a conversation and like it is, to let her guard down, but she's not really concerned about her well-being anyway. You can tell because she's still very casual at this point. The alarm bells are not ringing for her. She thinks that this is just a regular conversation and she can flirt and manipulate her way out of this.
What have you been up to since Travis's death? What have you been doing?
Well, I've been working. I haven't been really working in prepaid legal. There's not a whole lot here in this marketplace, which is
It's kind of small.
it's small here, and really that could be seen as an opportunity rather than a hindrance, because that just means the market is untapped in a larger way. So I could have if I wanted to, but I'm kind of like a deer in the headlights when it comes to prepaid legal. I just have a fear of just approaching people. So I've been working at a Mexican restaurant in the north end of town. I've been kind of in a daze, at least for the first few weeks.
Like everybody,
Yeah. I know that a lot of people have been posting on Facebook really nice things, and memories. And at one point I was like, well, maybe I should do that. So I posted this thing and I just said all my memories. And I realized looking back on it that it kind of sounded immature. It's more of like my Dear Travis kind of letter. And so I took it down
more
because,
personal.
yeah, some of it was details that were a little more personal. Not too personal, nothing inappropriate. Just, I just felt funny. I think because I'm a photographer, I tend to communicate more through pictures. So I posted a ton of pictures that I had of him. And I have a ton more that I just can't access right now. And videos and things that I know his family would want. But so I posted pictures and I took that down, and I posted something last week. But other than that, I've been on Facebook and MySpace a lot, looking at his profile, looking at his pictures, reading things about his obituaries and any news updates. And there's legacy.com where you can write something about him.
I've seen a lot of those postings.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize until I actually spoke with Ryan Burns. He told the guy that's in Utah. And we've been talking a lot. We try not to talk about that because it's kind of like, and plus Travis is my ex-boyfriend, but at the same time, he's my friend. So while I'm mourning my friend, how do you talk to your new potential, possible, maybe person that you might start dating about your friend, even though he was your ex-boyfriend? So it's kind of a gray area. I try not to talk about him too much, but he comes up a lot. And it was through him that I learned that he said, if you come out to Utah, things are really weird because everyone thinks that you could have had a hand.
And I've talked to a lot of people, man.
So the dude that she went to Utah to visit, the potential new love interest, is telling her, "Hey, it's weird in Utah because people are saying you did it. People are saying you did it." And she just saying this so casual, like she could be baking, giving a recipe for biscuits.
And everybody's pointing a finger at you.
I know.
Everybody is saying, I don't understand what happened to Travis. I don't know who killed him. But you need to look at Jodi. And sometimes the simplest answers are the correct ones.
So he's telling her the simplest answers are the correct ones. Everybody's naming you for a reason. And the reason is because you did it, and I know you did it.
And that's one of the reasons I started looking at you a little bit closer. And over the last month or so, I've gotten into Travis's life, talked to all his friends, his family. I got a really good understanding of who he is now. And I got a very good understanding of your relationship with him. And I'm kind of just putting two and two together.
Well,
and it kind of matches.
And it matches.
So one of the reasons I'm here is to talk to you to figure out what was going on between you two. I know the relationship that you guys had was of convenience sometimes. Obviously, you weren't boyfriend and girlfriend anymore, but you were still having a sexual relationship, which
does his family know about that? Just curious.
No, his family doesn't know anything. Yeah.
I'm interested in protecting how he's remembered as well. And he was
well, I'm sure if Travis could speak right now, he wouldn't care what people thought about him because they knew who he was. Okay, a sexual relationship here or there, because the fact he was a member of the church really doesn't matter.
A couple times I asked him
whole range of things.
Yeah, okay. I think in the broad scope of things that could be right. I just think that the reason I care about that is because he was adamant about that. And a couple times we prayed about it, didn't work, or we didn't stick to our, our guns on it. And one time, a girlfriend of mine just said, "Why don't you just go to your bishop and talk?" And asked Travis the same. And I talked to him about it, and he got really angry. He said, "I've already had problems with this in the past. I'm embarrassed by it. I don't want to go to my bishop." And so we just kind of stopped for like a few weeks, and then that must have been in, I think it was August, and then it just resumed.
Well, the way Travis thought by getting into his head and everything that he's written in his journals and everything I found out about him, he truly had feelings for you, and for some reason he felt that the relationship between you and him was somewhat unhealthy, but he couldn't stop it. And I assume that's probably maybe the same way you felt about him, or
It's
maybe
probably
you didn't understand why he didn't believe it was healthy.
no, I didn't think it was healthy either, spiritually at least, and probably emotionally, but mostly spiritually. And I think that kind of once you have something that's not healthy spiritually, it filters through all aspects of your life. It's one of the main. It's one like there were three main reasons I moved back to Eureka, and one was I was in financial dire straits. I was not getting ahead. I was not. I just things were not working. Everything in Arizona was like, except for the wonderful friends that I made in my ward, um, and the opportunity. It's like the Mormon land of opportunity there, which is awesome. But except for all that, like every sign was pointing, just go. You know, I wasn't able to hold a job, and that had never happened before. Too much of my nightlife was about him. He would text me and, "Hey, I'm getting sleepy. Dot dot dot." This a bunch of Z's, and that was his code to like come on over, kind of thing. Coast is clear. So and that was just I lived 5 minutes away.
So what she means by the coast is clear. So Travis, again, was a very private individual, and he did not want people to know that he was not living up to the ideals of being a Mormon. He had the image of being very devout, um, very into his faith, but he was secretly sleeping with Jodi, which is against the vow of chastity in the Mormon religion. So he had roommates, and so he would, after they had broken up, would sneak her in, and then they would have freaky sneakies going on in his bedroom, and then he would usher her on off her merry way, either when the roommates were gone or before anybody woke up. So she was strictly a booty call at this point. But she was still holding on to the relationship because she really was obsessed with him and wanted to be with him. So that's what they're discussing.
10, maybe 10, depending. And it was just too convenient and too easy, and it was fun, and we had fun when we were together. And so it wasn't healthy, and I totally agree with that. So that was one of the well, financially, I wasn't doing well. I missed my family. I moved away shortly after high school, and I come back to visit, but I realized over the years I've missed out on a lot of things. My little brother and sister
Here she goes crying.
missed out on just
My brother and sister.
their karate or their baseball or cheerleading or whatever. And my dad is not doing well. He doesn't think he has very long to live, but he always says that. It's been that way for like a decade. He's still here, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
My grandparents aren't getting any younger, and I just have an awesome family.
I have an awesome family.
And I wanted to be able to just be here for a little bit and regroup financially. I owe my parents a lot of money, and I owe my grandparents a lot of money, and I owe friends money. I owe my the guy that I bought a house with. I owe him a lot of money. He doesn't ask me for it, but I intend to pay him back.
I tend to pay him back.
He really footed the bill on the mortgage for a few months. And the third reason, and I like to put this third because I like to think that second to those reasons.
You see how her demeanor changed? She was crying a second ago, and now she goes right into this storyline that she's about to give, and her voice changed, her demeanor changed, her body language changed.
I would have been strong enough somehow. But the third reason was to put a distance, a physical distance between Travis and I, because I know that he really liked Mimi, and he said he did. He just, And I kind of felt guilty. I mean, I know they weren't dating, but I just felt guilty somehow. And I didn't know Ryan at the time. I met him in March in Oklahoma City, and it was just brief. And I remember seeing him and saying, "Oh, I really want to go say hi to him," but he was surrounded by people, and he was kind of unapproachable. And he says he remembers meeting me too. And it wasn't until Zion, my friend, um, texted me, and I think I told you that when I was giving.
And this is all after
This is all
you
after.
broke up.
Oh yeah.
Broke up with Travis. Everything was all over.
Yeah. As far as the timeline, we broke. It was kind of a mutual thing, but I sort of more broke up with him.
Yeah.
And it was hard to do because I really loved him, but I just realized that without trust, you can't have anything, and I had violated his trust.
Is that the main reason you guys broke up? Is the trust?
Trust. I think that there's
not that the relationship was unhealthy because of the sexual activity, promiscuity, but just that you guys couldn't trust each other.
I think that, and this doesn't make it right. I think that being a convert, I've had a couple of serious relationships before where I was intimate with a few people, and
A few people.
it's kind of silly, but I used to always joke that regardless of what the Bible says, and yes, I'm Christian, I just live my life by the 10 Commandments, and those are my rules. Da, 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 da. Thou shalt not this or that, but it doesn't say thou shalt not fornicate. So I just used to joke about that.
Y'all heard that? So we live our rules by the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not this or that, but it doesn't say anything about thou shalt not fornicate. Wink, wink.
And it's a bad philosophy.
Yeah.
I think that with Travis, there was a part of me that felt really guilty because there was something inside that thought this is nice for instant gratification, but you're destroying what you could have with Travis. And
See?
that's why we did pray about it. I remember we knelt by his bed once, and surprisingly he suggested it. Normally, I would suggest that we pray before we go on a trip or before we eat if we're alone.
That was kind of unusual for him.
Yeah, because he was very resistant to prayer with me.
So this devout Mormon, the one that baptized her into the faith, was resistant to prayer with her. That's interesting that he was resistant to praying with her. Like it was something blasphemous or unholy that maybe he internally understood or knew. And he was too resistant to pray with her. She was good enough to sleep with, but not pray with. That's significant.
I mean, I think in church it would have been fine, and I feel that maybe because we were driving away the spirit constantly, or maybe he felt that by inviting the spirit, he would feel guilty about later on in the evening, or I don't know what the deal was. Or the excuse he used was because I'm a convert, I need more practice saying prayers. He's like, so I'd say, will you say a prayer? He's like, why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you say a prayer? So we'd go back and forth, and I don't know, it's just one time when I was on a trip with Havasu Pi, we were all getting on the road, and I think it was with Dan Freeman and his sister Desiree, and they were all like, Jodi, will you say a prayer? And I said, sure, and Travis was like, anyway, I didn't want to argue with them. So, anyway, what was I saying?
Well, he's, the whole trust issue keeps coming back into my mind.
That was the big reason.
He was a big time flirt, and that's the one thing everybody says about him. He flirts a lot. Does he mean anything by it? No, not really. That's just who he is. He did have, girlfriends here or there, and he was at a point in his life where he wanted to really start settling down. He felt like he needed to kind of grow up, become a husband, become a father. That time had come, and he felt that time had come and gone, and he was falling behind.
He told me that too. He said he felt like his time was running out, and I told him that, despite the fact that he's not going to be in a singles ward very much longer, he still has a lot of options. He's still a very eligible bachelor. And he just didn't see it that way. He's like, you don't understand. He was like, that might be true, but my chances are severely reduced once I turn 31. It was like this ticking
Well,
time bomb.
finding a good Mormon
Well, he would never get a chance to turn 31.
was difficult because in that church, you know, that most of the girls get married in early 20s,
Yeah.
you know.
He said he didn't want to marry a girl in her early 20s because he said that he noticed a lot of pattern in the church with girls that married between 19 and 24, so to speak, would they'd start having babies and growing their family, and then they would look at their single girlfriends who are still having fun with no responsibilities, and they would regret getting married. And I think if you're strong in the church, it's not so much a problem, but
Yeah, depends on who you surround yourself with too. If you surround yourself with the right people, you know, it's a different story. But you know, that's where he was. And did you guys ever discuss possibly getting married or anything?
when we were dating, we did.
Okay.
Once we broke up, he brought it up. He actually proposed to me a lot of times, but he wasn't serious.
So he proposed a lot, and you see that she just lit up and she started smiling. Well, he proposed to me a lot of times, but he wasn't serious. But just the fact that he proposed and that thought entered into her mind, she just lit up like a Christmas tree.
I think he was serious once, and it was when we broke up, and that was really hard because we were on the phone, and it was just like none of that stuff should be done on the phone anyway. But I was hundreds of miles away, and I told him that I loved him. We didn't say I love you during our relationship, but we said it afterward. It was weird. I said, this isn't breaking up with him on the phone wasn't really the way I wanted to do it, but it was kind of a situation that had just come to a point where it just couldn't be ignored anymore. And
Let's move to after the breakup.
oh, okay.
What kept you in Mesa at that point?
I actually moved to Mesa a few weeks after we broke up.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, as far as the timeline goes, but I mean, if you want to call it our official breakup, shortly thereafter, it's like we were still seeing each
So
other.
you guys were seeing each other, but it was a long distance type relationship.
It was always long distance when we were officially dating. We didn't re-date. We dated from about the beginning of February to about the end of June. So February, March, April, May, June, about 5 months total.
About 5 months total.
In June of 2007, you guys broke up, and then
June
you moved to
29th.
Mesa.
Yeah, I moved to Mesa sort of.
Most people, when they break up, they kind of go their
I
own
know,
way.
and plans were already in order for me to move there. I was already speaking with a friend who was, was going to be her roommate, and I was her roommate for a short time. She's kind of flighty. She's a great girl, though. I had talked to Travis about maybe going to Southern California instead, and he's really persuasive.
He persuaded you to stay there in Mesa.
He kind of was playing up all the advantages if I did come to Mesa, and if I did, he said, it's a great place. We could still see each other and hang out on occasion. This church is very strong. You'll make a lot of friends. And I already knew all this stuff prior because we talked about that. And so I went ahead and just made the move. It sounded at the time like a good idea.
And you guys continued to kind of see each other at that time?
Yeah, at the time I was sort of living more across town over by Greenfield. Do you know where that is?
Yeah.
It was up Greenfield near Broadway. Greenfield and Broadway were the nearest cross streets. And that's where the girl that I was originally talking with, I moved in with her.
Yeah, it's kind of far from
Travis. Yeah. The thing about her, and just to give you a background of why I moved suddenly, she approached me the weekend after I got there and said, hey, she knocked on my door, can I talk to you for a second? I said, sure. And she moved in with her boyfriend, and they were engaged.
Okay.
And she said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that Scott and I went to Vegas last weekend to tie the knot. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, we haven't told anyone, but we didn't want to live in sin. So and she had already been sealed in the temple once.
So what she's referencing as her roommate, she was living with a chick, Rachel, and her and her fiance got married. They went and eloped, and so when they went and got eloped, they told her, uh, you don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of here. So that's what she's giving this long narrative about.
Was waiting for her cancel or
Yeah.
to
Her suing be
to be canceled. So they were going to have a civil wedding on the beach in Oregon, and they did that the following weekend. She told me that on a Monday or Tuesday. It was the beginning of the week, and she said the reason I'm telling you that is because I'm getting married this weekend, and I have to go out of town a few days ahead of Scott, make arrangements. And now that he's a married man, we don't feel it's right that you be here in the house.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to inconvenience you. Is there any way you could stay with somebody else or just find another place? At the time I was waiting on a house in Gilbert because I already knew they were getting married, so I was kind of looking anyway. And there was a great girl named Brenda, and she was waiting on her keys for the mortgage to go through, and it was a great ward, it was a great house, and it was brand new. Construction and all that was really nice, but she didn't get her keys for months and months. I think she's in the house now, but I don't know how to talk to her. So I scrambled. I went to the Institute. I wrote down a bunch of phone numbers. I called them all, a lot of them. I got voicemails. One girl that answered, her name was Tiffany, and she knew Travis. And she was at his services in Arizona and, as well. And we've just remained friends, sort of, like on MySpace and Facebook and that kind of thing. But she said, hey, sorry, that's an outdated posting. I forgot to take it down, but go to this website. So ldshousing.net, I went there. I made 3 phone calls for the places that were within my price range. I didn't think to look where they were. The one girl that called me back, her name was Shannon Derricott. She said, here's my place, here's the directions. Go ahead and go out and come see the house. It was available, so we did.
So she's trying to justify why she moved so close to Travis. That's what this whole exposition is. Why, after she got told that she had to leave when her friend and friend got married and she had to move, why she moved so close to Travis? Because she was literally down the street from this dude that she broken up with.
go ahead.
All this yippity yapping she doing.
Okay. So I moved out there, and when Travis found out it was so close to him, he freaked out about it. And I made sure to check that it wasn't that we wouldn't be in the same ward. And it was within his ward boundaries, but it was also within another singles ward boundary. So of course I'm gonna go to the other one because it would just be kind of weird. I mean, I didn't know about him and Lisa at first. So I don't know if they were even dating at that time. I don't know what their whole timeline was. But it still would have been weird. And it wouldn't have made Travis
Now,
very
during that
comfortable.
time that he was seeing Lisa, did you continue to see him as well?
Yeah, and I didn't know that he was seeing her.
Okay. But he would call you and have you come over.
Yeah.
I know there was a time when you, I guess, were cleaning his house too for extra money or something.
Yeah, I did
He
that.
hired you.
Yeah, I did that because he knew that I was struggling, and he's like, I've been doing the math, and that happened pretty much right on. I think that started in August. He's like, I've done the math, and I feel that I can be more protective. My time is more valuable than X amount of dollars per hour. So why don't I pay you this per hour, and I'll work, and you can make a little bit of money.
Okay.
So that helped.
That makes sense. And that was around the same time frames, the move and back and forth.
Yeah, it was like a few weeks after the move. Okay. I was still living with Rachel over on Greenfield before when that started. And he sent me this picture, and he's like, this is your uniform, have it by Friday, Thursday, or whatever. And it was this French painting. I was like, no.
Yeah, that's him.
So she was um, discussing that Travis, being a nice guy, offered her a gig to clean his house. However, he wanted her to wear a French maid uniform because this was another way for them to have freaky sneaky together.
Typical.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a very flirty guy. And,
he is.
Now, obviously, the Rachel relation or Lisa relationship didn't work out, and then there was a time period he really wasn't seeing anybody, and then Mimi came into the picture. What did you think about her?
I didn't know a lot about her. She seems like a really nice girl. He showed me her picture on Facebook. I don't think she had a lot of pictures on there. He said that he's not sure why, but he's pretty sure that she could be it. And I was happy for him. I didn't find out about Lisa.
This conversation you had face to face with him?
Yeah, yeah, it was in his room. And he had his laptop, just on his bed. I didn't find out about Lisa until after we had this conversation where we decided to all just come clean. And that was quite a conversation. Because I was never unfaithful, but there, when we started dating that timeline around February, the reason I remember February is because he had told me in December, go date other people kind of thing. And so I did. It was January 10th that I went on a date with my friend John for lunch. We just went out and had sushi. Nothing romantic happened. We didn't hold hands. We didn't kiss. I think we hugged. And I guess it was considered a date because he asked me and I accepted and he paid for it. And that was in Pasadena.
Yeah, if he pays for it, it's a date.
Yeah. That was in Pasadena. And the following evening, I went out with my friend Abe. And he drinks. He just got like a Maker's Mark, I think, is what is this drink. And I got cranberry juice. And we just talked forever about it. He talked about politics, which
One of
is...
these guys in the Marine Corps or something?
They're both in prepaid legal. John Dixon is not in prepaid legal anymore. He's moved on to other ventures.
No, but the Marine Corps, are they in the service at all?
No.
Okay.
Abe is he's a little bit older. He's just sort of a businessman.
Okay.
Has a background in, I don't remember, production or
And this is during the time that you guys were broken up, or
This
still
was-
kind of going
I'm
out?
sorry, this was before we started dating.
Okay.
The reason I say this is because he told me a few times, he told me during that conversation too, that he's like, you seem to have a very convenient timeline for when we started dating. Because I used to ask him, like, when did we actually start dating? Because I figured if we ever made it to a year, we might as well sell. And he's like, I'm not really sure. And the reason I think it was February 2nd is because...
Y'all hear all this information she's giving?
Do you know of Chris and Sky Hughes?
Mhm.
Okay. I used to spend a lot of time at their house. And, they're a wonderful family. And Sky was... She's somebody that I really opened up to. And, I told her a little bit how I just wasn't sure about Travis at the time. And I wasn't sure what was going on there. And she wrote in this long letter. Or she didn't write a letter. Travis wrote the letter. But she kind of got on his case. And they told me all kinds of things about Travis that I wasn't aware of.
What kind of stuff are you talking about?
They said if I don't get away from Travis, I'm gonna become just like Deanna, which is his other ex-girlfriend. Do you want to waste 6 years of your life waiting for him?
Because you can't commit.
He still tells Deanna, "I love you," and I was like, "What?" And that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I truly believe he does love her still.
Oh, he
but
does.
Travis
He loves her
had a... He's what you call a player. You know what that means. Yeah. He kind of...
He doesn't
pulls
intend
girls
to hurt
in.
anybody, though.
But he can't make a commitment.
You see how the detective
Portrays
doing?
himself to be a certain way. But he's really not. Okay. He portrays himself to have a lot of money. He's not. He doesn't have a lot of money.
He's got a lot of things. He told me the first night that I met him, or it was the second night, it was at the MGM Grand. He invited me to this executive director banquet. And, he was kind of talking about what his earnings were the last year and how he almost made his 6 figures and that kind of thing. And then he leans in and he goes, in this business, you have to show off your money a little bit. And in prepaid legal, it is. People want to see that you're actually being successful. So, he's done a good job of that.
It's about making money.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so Chris and Sky were just, by the end of the conversation, they started calling me Deanna. And I was just like shocked. I didn't want to, the last thing I wanted.
How did you feel about that?
My biggest concern was losing respect in their eyes because I really, really looked up to them. And I thought I would have laughed it off and I thought it was kind of funny, but I feared inside that I was losing their respect.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talked to him next, I was like, what do I do? What do I say? And he ended up writing this long letter to Sky saying, I just got off the phone with a very reluctant to talk to me Jodi, And she wrote back saying something to the effect like, I wouldn't want my sister to date you. Why do you kiss Jodi in the dark and then act like you guys aren't even together in the daytime? Things like that.
That's a good statement because that kind of sums up the relationship that you had with him. It seems like
Especially,
he liked you, he loved you. He wanted to be with you, but he was reluctant to make a commitment first off. And truly, he didn't think that you were marriage material. And I don't know why not. I mean, I see you. You're a wonderful girl. You're struggling. You're trying to make your way through life, and I don't see why you guys couldn't have made it.
I think we have very different philosophies on a lot of ways. We would argue about the dumbest things, and like he would just want me to admit that he was right, and I would happily do that.
Well, that's a man thing.
I should have just known better and admitted that. I eventually learned how to argue with Travis, and it's
Talk to my wife. She's like, okay, fine, you're right.
Yeah, eventually that's what I began to do with him. It's like the more I just agree with him, the sooner the argument gets over, and the sooner we can make up. And the makeup was always great. But there were so many times where I just couldn't wrap my mind around what he would. I could, but I would try to get him to do the same for me. Like there was a time when I broke down on the way to LA once when I was going to watch Chris Hughes do a training, and this was January, mid-January maybe of 2007, and my car got a flat tire. So I had at the time roadside assistance because my car was still under warranty, and they went to take the car in to change the tire and realized that when they sold me the car, they didn't give me the wheel lock key. For anti-theft, there was wheel locks. So I had to get a hotel room. I had to get my car towed. It was a big nightmare. And I was kind of hungry. It was dinner time. It was 7:38, and it was dark because it was January. And the tow truck guy said, there's a Denny's 2 blocks down here, and there's a Jack in the Box there, and he was driving me to the motel. I said, is there an IHOP around? Because I really like IHOP. He's like, yeah, but it's kind of like 5 miles back in the other direction. I was like, okay. He's like, I can drive you there if you want. And I was like, he's like this short Mexican guy, and he seemed really harmless. And I was like, okay. And he, and I asked him about his life, and he had a wife and kids, and so he wasn't flirting, or he had a girlfriend or something. I don't remember.
Just trying to be nice to you.
Just being nice. And so I ended up telling him, and he didn't ever come on me or ever say anything inappropriate. And then he drove me back and dropped me off, and that was that. And I got to eat. And so I told that to Travis, and he didn't say anything at first, but it got back to Sky, and Sky was like, why didn't you call me? And then I think eventually that was used against me to establish a pattern that I do weird things like that. So that's something we had arguments about a lot.
No one remembers all of this.
And he told me once that he was a little bit jealous when he found out that I went on those dates. He's like, but I know we're not dating. And he's like, I guess I am a little bit jealous, but with these other incidences, he said it just concerns him because he thought that I would get myself into a situation where I'd get hurt because I have that sort of attitude. And I was really, since I joined Prepaid, I've been really trying to break out of my bubble and do things that are a little uncomfortable as far as talking to people. And, I made a resolution this year to overcome a few fears that I have that I'm really scared of. So I think that by getting into that a little, then I can, overcome some of that. But he did act jealous, but he wouldn't say he was jealous. He would just say.
But he would tell other people about it.
What do you mean?
Did he tell Sky Hughes?
Oh yeah, I guess it got. I may have told Sky about that.
But they probably had a conversation with him, and he probably voiced his opinion.
They had many conversations. I know that him and Sky had a lot of fights and arguments, and I was the root of that a lot of time. But I think, all in all, they, especially.
So he just said that his friends had arguments regarding Jodi. That's what she's giving all this yippity yap about.
More recently, they got along a lot better. I think she gave him a really hard time about our relationship. So that's one of the reasons he really wanted to keep it under wraps.
So, moving over to his trip to Cancun that he was going to. When did you first find out about that he was going with Mimi?
Oh, I found out about that at his memorial services on Monday. It was the Monday night memorial service.
So you didn't know that he was going to Cancun?
I knew he was going. Yeah.
Okay. You didn't know he was taking Mimi?
I didn't know that. I think that's awesome, actually.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Mimi had called him a week or two before, and I told him, look, if you want to take somebody else, it's fine, but I have something to tell you. I don't look at you that way. I don't look at you as a boyfriend. If you want to be friends, we can be friends. And that really broke his heart.
I know. I mean, he didn't tell me that, but I found out from his bishop afterward when I talked to his bishop. And his bishop did say that Travis really took that one hard, and he said he took it to heart. And he said he realizes that it's, speaking from a bishop's perspective, he said it's because, Mimi is of a certain caliber when it comes to her spirituality, and Travis was just in another
He's
place.
struggling, and that's something he struggled with for a long time.
Well, I feel responsible for that part of me.
Why do you feel responsible?
Because I wasn't, I mean, I had moved away, but I had participated with him in so many things that kept us both down spiritually for a long time. I mean, if I had just cut ties completely, I could probably be married right now. I could probably be working on my own family.
What
And
kept you
him
there?
too.
What kept you to him? I don't understand.
Well, moving is expensive for one. So once I was there, I was kind of stuck there.
But why do you continue to go back to him? You know what he wants. You know that it's not healthy, but yet you continue to go back. And it brings us to this point where we are now.
And it brings us to this point where we are now. Again, he's telling you,
I mean,
you did it.
I guess I
you
physically I
keep
was
saying you knew that it wasn't healthy, and you knew it was contributing to something that wasn't good.
I think at the
But yet you
time,
guys continue to do it.
yeah, and part of my perspective now has to do with the fact that I'm going through a repentance process that I've worked out with with my bishop.
So she's saying that she's worked out a repentance process with her bishop. So the cop asks, why did you stay with him and keep going back to him? And all he wanted was your body. Then she says, well, I've worked out a repentance process with my bishop.
And he's given me certain
Uh,
scriptures to read and ponder and pray about, and it brings me back to where I was prior to all that. I don't know how much I ever really was there as much as I am now, because even before I was baptized, even the 2 days before I was baptized, 4 days, it was on Wednesday and I was baptized on Sunday, before Thanksgiving. And it was just like Travis and I were making out, and that was prior to, we hadn't gone all the way at that point, but it was just too far. And I called him that evening and I said how I didn't, it felt different. The first few times was like, hey, that was great, whatever. And then it just felt different this time. And it was right before I was about to be baptized, and I already had my interview, and so it was like, it was just different. And he said, well, yeah, he's like, I feel the same way, and I think that's the Spirit, telling us this, that, or the other. And so I think that by driving the Spirit away so much, you just get into this pattern of I don't know. It was convenient. There was a couple times where I didn't answer his text messages, and he would send me little sad faces, or eventually he would wait, and then he would call, and then he would call again, and if I didn't answer, he'd call 3 times.
And obviously, you guys kept this relationship hidden from everybody else, and because nobody really knew about it.
Well,
there were some people who I talked to and said, yeah, they continued to have a relationship even after they broke up. And there are others who were saying that you had become obsessive with him to the point to where you would go into his house when he wasn't there, or when you weren't invited, and he would talk to people saying, she just kind of showed up, and I don't want to tell her to leave, but I don't want her here.
oh, must have been early on, because there were a couple times when we established a rule early on, just don't come over unless, he said, you can come over anytime, but I need to know first. Yes. He's like, you just never know.
Because you ran into somebody one time, right? Did you run into like one of his ex-girlfriends as well, or was it Deanna that you ran into?
Oh yeah. Well, that was okay that I was there. He asked me to stay there and be with Napoleon, because that was during general conference in October of last year. He took a road trip with some friends from his church to Utah, and unless he's going to California, he pretty much leaves Napoleon at home, and so he needed someone to be there. And it's like I got full house privileges. I could sleep in bed. I could eat, food.
And I've talked to her, and she said that was kind of an unusual kind of situation. She didn't expect you to be there.
She didn't at all. And so at first I was like, did you give Deanna any flack over coming over on an
So she enjoyed that. She enjoyed when that girl came to the house and she was there, and then that girl was didn't expect her, and it made that other girl uncomfortable. You see how she smiled when she's discussing this, how she's smiling?
announced because we had just set this rule. And he's like, I talked to her about it. He's like, but I'll tell you what, I was on the phone for 3 hours with her. She was freaking out that you were there. And I think the more people knew about us associating, the more stress we both got from it. And so it was just easier to try and keep it secret. And we didn't always do a good job at that. I think his roommates may have seen her and some things. But they were kind of kept to themselves types. So we didn't worry too much about them. There was actually one roommate, John Hepworth, who ended up remarrying his same wife and moved back to Utah. And I was cleaning his house one day, and John told me, he's like, Travis is dating. And I said, okay. And I assumed he was, going on dates and things. He's like, no, he's really trying to date. And I said, okay. And he's like, he's desperate to get married. And I said, I know that's true. And he's like, I just wanted to tell you that because I don't think he's being honest with you. And I was like, okay. So that night, I confronted him about it, and we had a really big fight. It was also just a bunch of things were thrown in the mix together, and then he said, listen, I'm not dating anyone. But he was very angry at John for getting into his business. He told John in a very nice way, I think, hey, I know that you probably have good intentions, but just, mind your own business kind of thing. And from then on, I don't think John really said anything. And that was in October, I think.
You've kind of given me a really good rundown of the relationship and how you guys thought of each other and stuff. And I was pretty close to right on with my theory on how you guys, why you continue to see each other and what was going on during that time. I think there's some other things that you're not telling me. I think maybe the jealousy probably continued even after the fact that you moved away. For instance, was it the week of the first week of June, you took a trip to Salt Lake City. Remember that trip we talked about?
Oh, this year?
Yes.
I'm thinking back.
All right, we're getting ready to talk about the trip of the week of the killing.
Monday, June 2nd, in morning or afternoon or something. I can't remember what. Late
I
morning.
think it was morning.
Okay. And you'd gone down to Redding and rented a car.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you rent that car?
The Redding Airport.
Okay. Do you remember what car company it was?
I don't remember the rental company, but I remember the make and model. It was a Ford Focus.
Yeah, I got that from other people in Utah. They said you showed up in a Ford Focus.
It was white, 4-door. No cruise control. I like retros. Cruise control is really good.
You don't remember what company it was? Who
Maybe.
rented it?
I did.
Was it your credit card?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Yeah, I could look it up.
And so
Maybe.
You took a trip and you decided to go to, instead of going over to Utah, you went straight out to Los Angeles area.
I went to Santa Cruz first.
Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I stayed the night in Monterey. And the next day I drove to Pasadena. Okay. Waiting for Laura to call me back.
You didn't contact her at all?
She contacted me finally after I'd already left LA.
It was too late. You'd already
left
at that point.
And we had plans to do that again this week.
Which route did you take from there?
I was supposed to get on the 15 and go all the way up. And I somehow got off the 15.
Where did you end up?
For a while I was lost, and I'm not above sleeping in the car, so I slept for a while. I'm a heavy sleeper and I sleep a lot, so.
But you were on the 15 for a while, and you ended up getting off the 15 somewhere.
Yeah, I looked at a map, and I'm pretty sure I know where I went. Can I draw you a map?
Sure.
because I eventually started seeing signs for Phoenix, and I was like, and it was several hundred miles away still. Like, that's weird. Where am I going? So you have California, Los Angeles, and Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and I was supposed to go somewhere right up here. Oh, I'm a lefty. So the 15 kind of does one of these.
Yeah. Goes through, let's say, Las Vegas right here.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. My
No,
math
that's
is
okay.
so
That's
wrong.
okay. So we'll just put
I know it cuts through Arizona in the corner. Las Vegas, St. George is somewhere here. And then the 40 runs somewhere this way, because somehow I ended up on the 40. And when I saw the 40, I'm like, the only thing I associate with the 40 is Flagstaff, and Flagstaff is somewhere north of Utah. I mean, northern Arizona. And so, and I was going east, and I was like, what's going on here? I wasn't going the right way. And so I've had for the last 2 years, I've had a car that has a GPS system in it. It's really good, and I think it hasn't served me as far as getting a sense of direction. When I moved to Palm Desert,
Yeah, you kind of rely on it a little too much.
Too much. In fact, when I moved in with the last place I lived in Arizona, I did not know how close it was to Travis. I didn't realize. I have a very bad sense of direction, and it wasn't until I used my GPS the whole time I was there, pretty much, just to find things. Anyway, so I got back. I looked at the MapQuest that I MapQuest a bunch of places. I was maybe going to go to Death Valley. I was maybe going to go.
Did you actually cross over into Arizona? Is that how far you went?
I crossed over twice, I think. My map was wrong because the 93 goes north, and then I hit the 15 again, and then I got here, and then I hit Arizona, and then I'm here. Somehow I got north on the 93.
Okay.
And then I hit the 15. So, I mean, I don't know where Phoenix is, Mesa. It's got to be over here.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere near there.
So you took this trip and you left on.
Interesting that she just mentioned Mesa, and I didn't go anywhere near there.
Was it Monday the 2nd? Right? And you didn't get to Utah until Thursday, you told me.
Yeah, I got to Utah on Thursday.
So Thursday, and that's the 5th?
Yeah, I think so.
Monday, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, 5th. Okay, so we have, it's like 48 hours there that, well, obviously 3 days, but there's 48 hours. So this trip took you a little over 48 hours there. I have a problem with this trip.
Well, I went first too.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know you went down here.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, Eureka, right there. Beautiful little place here, except it's kind of smoky.
Yeah,
You can't
right
see
now.
the views. I was hoping to see some mountains, but
You really should see Mount Shasta. If you get a
okay.
chance.
I've gone over this trip over and over in my mind and on paper. And even if there's still 20 some odd hours, even if you pulled over to sleep a couple of times.
Oh, did I tell you that I got stranded?
Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned that. If you slept for 10 hours
I only slept for about
here
8
and
hours.
here, it would still leave 18 some odd hours for something else. Okay. This is what people are focusing on, is this trip that you took. Because they're saying she left, she didn't get to till Thursday. Wednesday? That's when Travis was killed.
I did not go near his house. Aren't there?
I pulled your cell records. Your cell phone was turned off between here and here. Okay. But the last place it pulled it was here. The next place it turned on was here. What does that show me?
Oh, well, I began. Oh, no.
Is there plenty of time for you to do that? Yes. And do I believe that you had come to visit Travis? Yes. I truly believe it. Did you have the opportunity? Yes. You were traveling alone. There's no other witnesses. Your phone just happened to turn off from here to here.
Well, I didn't turn it off physically, but it died.
The
And
phone
magically
died.
I got
You
it.
found your charger here?
It was packed under the seat of the passenger side, and it was when I was.
When you were lost, you couldn't have maybe pulled over and found it? Or...
Well, I did finally start looking when I was stranded. I wouldn't have pulled over when I was lost.
Okay, I've been focusing on this and going over and over my mind why this happened. Why your phone turns off here outside of Los Angeles.
What city is that? Because I
Going
got
towards,
as far as
there's no cities, there's towers.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay,
I got.
there's towers dotted all over this place.
Yeah.
One tower hit here, the other tower here on the 93. There is no way somebody can get on that 15 and magically get on that 93. Because that 15 goes right through Las Vegas, right there, and continues this way. It never goes through Arizona.
I got off before Las Vegas.
Okay.
I didn't get that
The
close.
15, you'd have to go to Las Vegas and then come down south, go through Boulder City.
I went through Boulder City going north.
Did you cross over the
I know.
dam?
Uh-huh.
You didn't think that was odd? You were crossing it over Arizona?
Well, after I figured out it was lost by then, and I found the 93 and then found my way back to the 15.
And this tower here, it's not just over the border in Arizona, it's quite a distance inside of Arizona that it hit. Because there's a mountain range all along here. And if you're on this side of the mountain range, pretty good distance, that signal's not going to hit Utah or Nevada or California. It's only going to hit in Arizona.
Well, I had somehow gotten off the 15 and got onto the 40. Is what happened.
Well, the only way you can get on the 40 is if after you cross the bridge or the dam, river dam.
I think I got on the 40 in California.
From the 15.
Well, because I actually began to drive the 10 West.
But you see what I'm saying? The confusion that we're having. And we'll come back to this.
Well, I got on the 40 somewhere over here.
In California.
Yeah, and continued to drive this way. Realized I was not in the right place at all. And then I got onto the 93 North.
If you have a bad sense of direction, these types of crimes are not something that you should endeavor to perform. I have a bad sense of direction. And if I had to recount how I got from point A to point B using interstates and streets, oh, I would be in the electric chair.
And then I hit the 15 again. And then I went through Las Vegas and then St. George and then on to Utah.
That still doesn't make any sense to me. And I can pull the maps and show them to you, and you can go over and over and over again. But I don't think you're being completely honest with me about that trip.
I honestly got lost. It's bad timing.
Were you at Travis's house on Wednesday?
Absolutely not. I was nowhere near Mesa.
She was nowhere near.
I wasn't even close to him.
What if I could show you proof you were there? Will that change your mind?
I wasn't there.
You can be honest with me, Jodi.
I was not at Travis's house. Was not.
You were at Travis's house. You guys had a sexual encounter, which there's pictures. And I know you know there's pictures because I have them. I will show them to you. asking you is for you to be honest with me. I know you were there.
Are you sure those pictures aren't from another time?
Positive. Absolutely positive.
The last time I had any kind of sexual contact with Travis was in April.
Remember I told you about the camera?
Mm-hmm.
That camera was damaged. Someone put it in a washing machine, ran it through a wash cycle with some clothes of Travis's, but the card's intact. Remember I told you that card was destroyed? I didn't want to tell you the truth because I wanted to make sure those photos were accurate. And we can pull deleted photos. I don't care if you delete them 6 months ago. We can pull every photo that was ever on there. Pull the little pixels together. Get the timestamps on them. Not all of them, but most of them have timestamps on them. And we can verify those timestamps.
Mm-hmm.
And I have pictures of you in Travis's bedroom with Travis. Pictures of him. And it's obvious you guys are having sex. Taking photos of each other. And they're dated and time-stamped on the day he died.
Are you sure it's me? I mean, that because I was
Jodi.
not there.
It's you.
I wasn't there.
And you know it's you.
Look at her body language.
I know all the details of this case. The only thing I don't know is why. Why did you choose to go visit Travis that day? And why did you do what you did?
I never
Why,
hurt
Jodi?
Travis.
You did. You hurt him. That's why we're here. That's why I flew up here. Because I needed to talk to you about this. I can just arrest you and throw you in jail, but I want to know why. Why did you do this to him?
I wouldn't hurt Travis. He's done so much for me.
There's so much evidence in that house. So much. And it all points to you.
I lived there. I was there for months and months and months.
I know you took pictures of him in the shower just before he died.
I don't think he would allow that.
And the camera actually took a couple of photos by accident during the time that he was being killed.
Really?
Yeah, Jodi, really. You were there.
Y'all heard the tone of her voice. Really? Like that thought never crossed her mind that there were pictures. Really? That's the first time she's been concerned this whole interview was when he said that.
Quit playing this game. It's time for you to just come out and
I didn't
tell me.
know. I did not hurt Travis. I did not hurt Travis. I wouldn't do that to him.
We have the pictures.
Can I see the pictures?
We have your blood at the scene. Your hair with blood at the scene. Your left palm print at the scene. In blood. What's going on there?
Well, I can explain the blood and the hair. I don't know about my left palm print.
How can you?
Okay, hold on to your seat when she explains why her blood and hair are at the crime scene.
Can you explain the blood in that?
Well, because I used to bathe Napoleon all the time, and
You haven't been there since April, right?
mhm. Well,
He's had the house cleaned several times since then. And this hair was not just a hair, from the shower or something. This hair was stuck with blood and obviously had blood on it at the time it got stuck where it ended up.
my
There's
hair would
no
have been
way.
all over.
There's no other hair.
Can you take a hair sample? And
We have your DNA.
No, but I mean, like, you know how they could do drug tests and find out when things were done?
No,
Can you?
We can't do that.
Can't you measure the time?
We have DNA matching that hair too.
Okay, I know, but
And that hair had a follicle on it, and that means that hair wasn't there very long. The follicle will usually dissipate and go away after a certain time. It'll fall off the hair itself.
Well, when I would brush my hair
Jodi,
there, I mean,
this one, you absolutely.
So between April, which is the last time she said she was there, and this date, which was in July, she's trying to tell us, she wants everyone to believe that that hair is from 3 months prior. That they haven't cleaned the house, they haven't swept, mopped, or anything in all of that time, and her hair is still there from when she brushed her hair and gave the dog a bath.
Cannot explain that away. You either had blood on your hand and you touched the wall, or there was blood on the wall and you touched blood.
could my palm print have already been there when I touched it?
Jodi,
Okay, so hold on.
Jodi,
She just asked, could the palm print already be there? That's how she's trying to explain the blood on the wall. That her palm print was already there on the wall. A bloody palm print on the wall.
this is over. This is absolutely over. You need to tell me the truth.
Listen, the truth is, I did not hurt Travis. Okay, so we're saying.
Jodi, you can continue to do this, okay? A records check shows you that you has reported a gun stolen. 25 auto. Just happens to be the same caliber as the weapon used to kill him.
A 25 auto was used to kill Travis.
Yeah, along with multiple stab wounds. Jodi, if you want, I can show you some pictures of him. Do you want to see pictures of him?
Part of me does, and part of me doesn't.
Why? Because you don't want to remember?
No,
Jodi,
there's a morbid curiosity.
Jodi,
Who the hell says this? That you're being accused of murdering someone, of stabbing someone, blood and hair on the wall, all this forensic evidence, and you say, I want to see the pictures because it's a morbid curiosity. Who does that?
wanted to know how he died.
we can keep playing these games over and over again. I'm not going to believe you. When
Alright.
you start telling me the
Listen.
truth,
She's thinking.
then I can believe you.
She's
But
thinking.
I can't deny this evidence. I can't. The trip you took doesn't make sense. The opportunity was there. Your pictures on that date with him. Your blood.
Do you notice how she's staring so intensely at him and the way that she just makes these subtle movements to match every movement of his? She's one of those personalities that she tries to mirror people and mimic their behavior. I just noticed this that every time that he moves, she moves, and it's very subtle gestures.
Is in the house mixed with his.
It's really eerie.
Mixed. Not alongside, but mixed. Your hair is there with blood. And your palm print is there in blood.
Was it?
It's over.
Could it have been my blood from before?
Your image is not important right now. Saving the rest of your life is.
Listen, if I'm found guilty, I don't have a life. I'm not guilty. I didn't hurt Travis. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty.
By the way, she did not beg for the death penalty in the trial. She did not beg for the death penalty.
Was there anybody else with you?
I was traveling alone the whole time.
Was there anybody else with you at Travis's house on Wednesday the 4th?
I was not at Travis's house on Wednesday.
You were? Because that's when the blood was left on, the bloody palm print was left on his wall. I don't know what to tell you. If you were in my shoes and I had this evidence against you, what would you say?
If I had that evidence against you, it'd
Yeah.
be pretty obvious. But I guess being in my position, it just seems so impossible. I want to see it. I want to know. I mean, I'm not a murderer, but I guess if I were to do that, I would wear gloves or,
I'm not a murderer, but if I were to do that, I would use gloves. I would use gloves.
something. How could I don't know.
She's
I
thinking.
tried to wash him off.
She is thinking.
Get some of the blood off, try to clean him up a little bit. But you're even denying the pictures of you being there. There's pictures of you laying on the bed in pigtails.
Pigtails?
Yes. And I've got pictures of you that I've blown up, and you've got the little mole right there. It's the same one. It's you. It's obvious. I can show you some.
She is thinking.
You want to see the pictures? Will that change your mind?
I mean, I am curious.
So what she means by I'm curious, she needs to see these pictures because she needs to make her story line up with the forensic evidence that's in that house. So of course she can't fully remember how she left the crime scene because of course your emotions are high and you're panicked and you're in fight or flight, so you're not remembering every little detail. She thought when I took the bedding and the camera and put in the washing machine, that would take care of everything, so there's no evidence of me being there. Had this idiot not volunteered her own DNA, she did this herself now. She called the police to volunteer her DNA. She said, take fingerprints of my hands, take fingerprints. Here's a swab of my saliva. So she gave them the forensic evidence herself.
Let me take a break and let me go find them. I'm going to show you.
I wasn't there.
But you need to think about what you're saying. This continuing to lie is not going to help you.
Admitting to something I didn't do won't help me either. Okay, let's say for a second that I did. And I say, I did it. I mean,
the motive is there, the jealousy issue.
but I wouldn't even say it was jealous. I mean, there may have been some jealousy there, but
then what is
I think
it?
if
What
anyone,
caused this?
I think if anyone, maybe Travis was jealous, but
That's not what everybody else says. Well, they know he was jealous, but they think that you are absolutely obsessed. Obsessed is the word that they use. That's the word I hear from everybody. Fatal attraction. I don't know how many times I've heard that. Look at Jodi. Jodi had to have done this, or she got someone to do it for him. There's not one person that says anything else. Why is that? That's the perception they have of you. And there's a reason for that perception. Maybe because it's true.
maybe because we kept hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
but not because it's true.
Cause this. I can prove you were there. I can prove it. But what I don't have is I don't have answers on why it happened. Or, maybe something just got out of hand. Maybe things got out of hand.
Did you find the gun? Maybe that would.
Jodi, we're just playing games here.
She's still she's still acting like this is just a regular interview, and that she can somehow maneuver her way out of this net that she just entrapped herself in. She did all this herself.
That gun was in your possession. When did you report it stolen?
I didn't even know that there were guns until my grandparents reported it stolen the day that their house was broken into.
When was that?
I don't remember. It was a few months ago, maybe.
What did you do with the gun?
I don't have a gun.
Keep in mind that she says that she does not have a gun.
They're going through your house right now, so are they going to find anything there that will lead you back to this?
I don't think they would.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would. So you said that you weren't there. There's no way that you were there. How would there be any evidence that would link you to the crime scene outside of the DNA that you already left at the house?
I mean, there's nothing that could link me there. I mean, that's pretty compelling, I have to admit. If you found my palm print there, I don't know. That's.
Do you have a pair of sweatpants that's got stripes around the backside and zippers? Somebody's seen you wearing those before.
I've got so many clothes. Yeah, I think I do. Wait. I have zippered one that zips in the back.
It's got like stripes, like big stripe on it on the side. Well,
it's got a black stripe all the way down and they're white. It's got the black. I have those at the house.
Okay.
It's got I have two pairs actually. One is too small and one is just about right. The other one I bought anyway, that was too small because it was on sale and it's a good deal. But yeah, they have stripes. Well, what does that mean? What is that?
Because I believe you were wearing a pair like that when this happened. Remember I told you about the camera? It was taking pictures by accident.
Mm-hmm.
Camera was upside down and flashed. Another time, camera flashed. Looked like it was on the ground. Maybe it was kicked. But it took pictures, and it's obviously a female.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was wearing those pants.
Oh, I didn't even bring those pants on that trip. So.
If you find those pants, is that going to make my case a little bit better? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take a little break, but I need you to think about what you're doing here. Because the best thing for you to do is to tell me the truth. Tell me exactly what happened, because you know what? I think your mom and your dad really deserve the truth. They're going to be asking. And it's absolutely.
Do y'all notice that she's sitting here pouting like a toddler because the big bad officer did not believe her story? She's over here pouting.
It's so important that you tell me why this occurred, what was going through your mind, and what caused you to do this. It happened, and I can prove it happened, and there's no doubt in my mind, and there absolutely is no doubt in anybody else's mind who's investigating this. You were there and that you did this. But I'll let you think about that. Okay? And I'm going to go look for some pictures, and I'll bring them over, and we'll continue this discussion. Okay? Let me go find them. I'll be right back.
I'm not a murderer.
All right, guys, I think this is a good place to call it for today. I don't want to make this way too long and overload y'all with information. So I will be back with part 2 of the rest of this first day of the interrogation, because we have two interrogations. You got the first day and then the second day when she had a night to think over and change her story up. And the story, it gets to be very interesting, I have to say. So anyway, I'll try to do this again maybe Tuesday. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I really appreciate you guys for sticking in and watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, make sure you share the video. And so have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.
Drums, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a great time tonight. We have truly enjoyed ourselves, and we would like to thank you for being a part of the show and coming to visit this platform. Live on YouTube, Auntie, miraclesq. Make sure you come back, because it's all the way live each and every time. Auntie, miracle, be